Greetings, peace and blessings to those coming into the stream. If you haven't already, please tap the like button and click on all notifications if you're subscribed. And if you're not subscribed, consider doing so. We're talking about Venezuelan gangs coming into this country illegally, unauthorized, unvetted, and unregulated. We are at roughly 21 million of illegal immigrants, undocumented immigrants into the United States of America. And to give some context and background, we are speaking primarily of the Tren de Aragua gang, Venezuelan gang, that has become a serious problem in this country. This gang is linked to kidnappings, extortion, and other violent crimes across the Americas, fueled by the large migration of Venezuelans in general. The gang's violence level has no respect for limits and has allowed to be unchecked in this country. Now, they have been allowed to come into this country unregulated for the tenure of this administration, almost 4 years. And it was just in July that the Biden administration imposed sanctions on this gang, putting it on the same list as MS-13 and Italy's Camorra Mafia, offering 12 million for its leader's capture. Now, I find that to be odd, considering the fact that we have all of these billions of dollars going to fund and provide resources to these Venezuelans and illegal immigrants across the board from various different countries. And yet, and still, they gave them the open border, they gave them the permission, and they gave them the opportunity over a span of at least 3.5 years, repeatedly, day in and day out, to come into this country untracked, undocumented. And when they get here and commit crimes, they are not held accountable. They're walking out of courtrooms with no accountability, no consequence. They don't even have to verify who they are. They don't have driver's licenses, yet they're being given monies, cash monies, grants for businesses, for cars, housing. Why? When we have an epidemic and a huge need in this country for people to actually, the citizens of this country that need help here. Let's continue and get a little bit more context of what's going on, specifically speaking in Chicago, Illinois, because the Venezuelan gangs are finding their way to Chicago to lock down territory and to take control over what was once under the jurisdiction of the residents of Chicago.
I spoke to Tyrone.
So this brother here, Muhammad, Tyrone Muhammad, he's an ex-gang member, and he's gone straight and runs a street patrol and violence prevention program called Ex-Cons for Community and Social Change, right? And he's speaking on the Venezuelan criminal gangs flooding the shelters, taking over apartment buildings, and that these are actions that seem to be the last straw for the struggling African American community. He is being proactive and he is being very vocal in regards to this epidemic, if you want to call it that, but this exponentially growing problem, not just in Chicago, but in our country, because make no doubt about it, it will be coming to a city near you.
With the illegalities and the criminal activity of these migrants or non-citizens, the city of Chicago is going to go up in smoke, it's going to go up in flame, and there's going to be nothing that the National Guard or our government can do about it when the bloodshed hit the streets. Blacks against migrants.
Zach Massey did time in state prison with Tyrone Muhammad, although he's only 27. He's a leader on the streets and said he's disgusted by the money going to Venezuelan migrants at the expense, he says, of the African American community.
Which is by design, right? We all know by this point that the writing is on the wall and that this is totally intentional in order to replace not just the Black citizens um, and the problems and the challenges that they may view come accompany Black people in general and collectively, but they also are, their focus, in my opinion, is to replace the Black vote, because the timing is just super coincidental that this is happening right around, and there's like a culmination coming to a head. Everything is coming to a point, a boiling point, right around the time of election.
I finally actually talked to him on the translator app, and he told me all the things that he got going on, how they help him get a car, apartment, clothes, link. So it's just like, I just be looking at it like they ain't got no social security number. Where they come from? He probably not even here legally.
They get right here, they get quick housing, quick funding, food, they get cars with no license. They can't even read English and stuff like that. So they get all these perks when they get here, and we still here starving. So what we gonna do about it?
And so what bothers me about this is that we have these criminals and gang members that are allowed to come into our country and infiltrate our communities that are already impoverished and broken. There's a super need for our citizens to be provided some type of resources. And as this young gentleman said, that he spoke to an actual immigrant with a translator, and he told him everything that he received. So this is not by word of mouth. This is not just speculation. This is real life as we know it today, right? Now, the latest figures show Chicago spent almost a $500 million with a B dollars over the last 2 years on more than 42,000 migrants who have arrived since 2022. Many have been given money for rent, food stamp cards, cars, and some landlords have even pushed out local African Americans because they can get more government money for housing migrants. And you're telling me that this is not by design? Whew.
Are y'all gonna listen to our cries?
Corey Rogers was a Blackstone gang member for years. He drove us around the South Side and showed us areas where he said Trendo, Awagwa, and other criminal gangs are setting up shop and what he called showing the flag, which means brandishing their weapons in front of like a housing project.
So these people are actually in public places brandishing guns to instill fear of the current citizens of those communities, to let them know that we're here and our intent is to claim this territory, this community, and you need to move around and get out, right?
The migrants that are coming, they're taking over every block right now in this area. Right now, you don't see them because they come out at night. They said they took this courtway over probably about last week. They said it was 100 Venezuelans standing out in the front right here.
Terry, is it an abandoned building? How do they just take it over?
They just, when you take over something, you just stand outside, and that's called showing the flag.
What kind of guns
Semi-automatics, anything you name, you're gonna see it on the street. These boys got so many big guns that if they're 150 pounds, the gun is bigger than them. I swear.
But they know how to handle it, right? They know it. Tell me about the fact that they're criminals, right? This is a criminal element. These aren't just a bunch of Venezuelans that walked over the border and used to be gardeners back home, right?
Right.
This gentleman also showed that reporter a WhatsApp gang thread with texts from gang members threatening turf wars with the citizens and the Venezuelans. Now, the problem that I feel, and I'm sure many others foresee coming, is that at least with those particular, with the Venezuelan gang members, even when they're coming from various countries, maybe not just isolated to Venezuela, but other countries as well, when they get here, they understand the power of solidarity and they understand the power of being united. And in this country, we have a large divisive aspect to our gang culture here, and they're too divided to be competitive and to go against these gangs. Again, this is an issue, right? And they're going to be able to see those flaws and those weaknesses in the gang culture originating from this country.
And they come from the gangland. They come from rougher gangs than us.
One gang member, who only gave his name as David on a particularly dangerous drug dealing corner on the South Side, did not hold back when he talked about the influx of criminal gangs from other countries into Chicago.
The real issue is that America has allowed gangs to enter our country. Gangs that they would consider terrorist groups that are formed here. We are terrorist groups if we're in a gang. They let terrorists in our country.
So this is a tense and complicated situation, family. You know, on one side, we have a concern over government resources being allocated to these migrant communities, while long established Black people, African-American residents feel left behind. On the other, you have also a criminal element which is infiltrating an already fragile landscape, and it's fueling the tensions in a city that's already seen its fair share of violence on home turf, right? So I guess the next question would be, is there a way forward? Can these tensions be resolved? How does the community respond when outside forces move in? There's a lot of different things to consider here, but let's listen to what the pastor has to say in regards to how his perspective is on the gang activity, the infiltration, and possible solutions.
Reverend Corey Brooks also said to me he's disgusted with Democratic policies and said that Black Lives Matter, for example, has never reached out to help him or anyone else trying to improve conditions on the South Side.
Chicago is a blue city. Illinois is a blue state. There's no doubt about it that the majority of our neighborhood, they're going to continue to vote Democrat until they wake up. The good news is that there are a lot of people who are responding and waking up and saying, listen, we're not going to take this. We're not going to stand for this. We're going to vote differently. And they're now accepting some of the values that I hold dear and some of the values that the conservative Republican Party holds so dear. And so for a lot of people, it's not about the person, it's about the policies that we're fed up with. And as a result, I think this is going to be the largest amount of people who have voted for a Republican president in Chicago that we've seen.
I also spoke to one Venezuelan man who was so scared of being identified that he put a hoodie on and refused to face the camera. He told me in Spanish that he had to flee the building where he was being housed because a Venezuelan criminal gang took it over. He said if they knew he was talking, they'd end his family's life back in Venezuela with one bullet. You know what?
So these people aren't playing. And to the point where you have another Venezuelan that understands the culture and how they respond to betrayal of loyalty. And he wasn't willing to do that. And I am, my instinct and my discernment is telling me that chances of him being illegal are slim to none. Legally are slim to none as well. There's a lot to dissect when it comes to this problem, because again, we have 21 million of them here already, over 21 million, and we don't have an accurate number because they're unmonitored. Their ports of entry based off of the legalities of the Immigration Act have not been adhered to. They have not been enforced. Crime has gone down in a lot of the countries of the immigrants that are here in their native land, and has gone up and is going up exponentially here on this soil of the United States of America. It is what it is. I want you to stay tuned to my next episode. And as always, let's keep the conversation going. Feel free to comment in the comment section after the video underneath and give me your thoughts. And with that being said, until next time, peace and blessings, family.